Welcome to the Get Right with God podcast with Jamar Grimsley, where we're all a work in progress. Nobody has their life all the way together. We're all trying to get right with God.
Listen, that odd situation is not always natural. It is sometimes spiritual. Let me say that again. I said that odd situation is not always natural. It is sometimes spiritual. Now, what am I talking about, you guys? First of all, I'm talking about the situations in our lives and the things that seem to be strange occurrences in our lives. Not just strange occurrences, but things that seem out of the ordinary, right? And we know that the word odd, that odd situation in your life is not always natural, but sometimes it is spiritual. Sometimes, you guys, we may wonder why things in our lives aren't working. No matter what we do and no matter how hard we try, sometimes things in our lives, they just don't work, right? And the reason I said the odd situation, right? Because I don't want to say the odd problem. And when I say spiritual, I mean that there is some supernatural occurrence going on behind the scenes. And the reason I don't want to say problem is because it's not always the devil, but sometimes it is God. And when God steps in, it also becomes spiritual, right? So sometimes you may not be able to get a certain job, right? No matter how much you try, you may be qualified, well qualified, overqualified. You got people there that's not even as qualified as you, but somehow you don't get the job, right? It's not always a natural thing. That odd occurrence, it is sometimes spiritual, right? It is sometimes spiritual. It may be something that you're trying to achieve or something that you're trying to accomplish, but that thing is not working no matter how much you try, no matter how hard you try, no matter how many times you try, it's just not going to work, right? And so when things like that happen, you guys, that's why I said an odd situation. This is strange now. Why isn't this working? I'm qualified. I know what I'm doing, but it's just not working. Things happen in your life like that, child of God. What you have to do is you have to bring that thing before the Lord. You got to ask God, Father, what is going on here? What is going on here? I'm not understanding, Lord. Is this not your will for my life? Is God blocking it or is the devil attacking it? See, this is what I'm saying. And you don't want to be binding and rebuking the devil against you not being able to get certain things or do certain things when it's really God. You see what I'm saying? You have to bring that thing before the Lord in prayer. And why would God not reveal it to you? But you have to ask. The Bible says you have not because you ask not. And when I say it's not always a natural thing, right? I'm talking about sometimes we'll look at it like, oh, well, that's just the way it is. No matter what I do, I just can never get in a relationship. No matter what, I end up getting to the altar or not getting to the altar, but I end up getting engaged and something always happens. And my partner or my spouse or whoever I'm planning on marrying, it never works. They always end up leaving. No matter what I do, no matter how hard I try, you have to ask God, Father, is this your will? First of all, before you jump in a relationship, before you get engaged and all of that stuff, you have to first ask God anyway, right? But we wait until it's almost time, and then we ask God then. But even if you ask God then, it's not always the devil that's fighting it, right? Sometimes that's just not your ordained spouse, right? Sometimes that's just not what God has in store for your life. Sometimes that plan that you have is not the plan that God has for your life. So no matter how much you try, it just won't work, child of God. It just won't work. But sometimes it is the devil, right? And if God shows you that it is the devil, whatever that spirit is, child of God, if you don't know what the spirit is, you bring that thing before the Lord. You bring that thing before the Lord, right? Because we don't always know what our problems are spiritually when the enemy's attacking us. Sometimes we know, but sometimes we don't know as well, right? You don't know what spirit that is attacking your marriage, that's causing confusion in your home, that's attacking your finances, that's causing you sickness. Once God reveals to you what your problem is, what you have to do is now you have to war against that spirit. Now you have to begin to command that spirit to leave your life, right? But again, you may not know what the demon is or whatever that thing is that's attacking your life. If you don't know, Say, Father, I don't know what my problem is, Lord, but you know what it is, God. And whatever my problem is, this things that's attacking my finances, that's attacking my marriage, that's attacking me moving forward in life, Father, let that thing be removed, God. Remove it by your power, God. In the name of Jesus, I command that devil, whatever kind of demon it is, command that thing to go, but you need assistance from heaven. So you have to bring that thing before God. You can't just keep it to yourself, or you can't just say, oh, this is just a natural thing, and oh, this is just the way it is, and you just accept this, my life. No, sometimes there is a spiritual problem. Right? And when I say problem, spiritual problem, now I'm speaking of the enemy. But when I say a spiritual situation, sometimes it's God that's stepping in, and he's blocking certain relationships that you try to get in. And he's blocking certain places you may want to move. And he's blocking certain friends, or he's blocking certain people from your life, or he's blocking certain behaviors. He's just blocking certain things. But many times we just think, oh, this is just the way it is. This is just the way it is. No, sometimes that odd situation in your life is not always natural, but it is spiritual. It's spiritual. Let me give you guys an example, right? I remember this. I always wanted to drive trucks. Right? Me always wanting to drive trucks. My license was always suspended. But when I finally was able to get my license back, right, I said, let me go take this test. I'm going to try to get my license so I could drive trucks, and I just travel the country. You don't got no big family and all of that. This is good for me. This is good for me. I'll be making some money, right? So let me tell you guys. So I went to the, the place, what is it? The driving center, right? Went and got a book, right? I went and got a book, and I studied the book. And I know what I was doing pretty much. I think I'm pretty smart. So I went back, and I ended up failing the test. I'm like, wow, I don't understand. I went back home, and I had to wait, I think 2 weeks. And then I studied, get to the place, and I failed the test again. And then I took the test again, and I failed it again. And I'm not understanding, why am I not being able to pass this test? I think I'm, again, pretty smart. You're doing the test, and I'm passing the questions. When I'm studying it, everything is going well. But when I get to the place to take the test, questions is just different than what the book was. And it was just totally different. And I was like, this ain't even on the test. Why is this question like this? And why is this? I went back home, and I said, I got to pass this test. This is like the 4th or the 5th time. So I had my buddy come over, right? And I told him to test me. So I studied, and he wrote the answers down, the ones that the book give you the answers to. And he wrote them down. And then, so he tested me. I did well. I passed every question. Tested me again. I passed every question. But when I get back to the place to take the test, I failed it again, right? And so the same thing happened, and I'm kind of puzzled, and my mind is just like, I'm not understanding. I'm just not understanding, why am I not passing this test? And then I went to the lady at the place, and I was like, Miss, the questions is different than the ones. Well, honey, this is the test that everybody takes. So I don't know what maybe you got to study a little more. I say, well, I'm getting all the ones right in the book, but when I come to the test, you take it on the computer, the questions is different. She said, well, I can't help you. Everybody else passed the test, so I don't know. You like she being rude, right? Anyway, I said, okay, it is what it is. I went back home again, and I downloaded all of these apps with the questions and the answers. And then I went online, and I downloaded answers from the questions and everything. And I had my buddy test me 5, 6, 7, 8 times. I'm passing it when he tested me, but I get back to the place for the 6th or 7th time, and I failed the test. I failed the test again, and I just did not understand. I didn't understand. One more time, I took it. I went home and studied. Now I'm going somewhere, y'all, so pay attention. Went home and I studied. I went back to the place, and so I said, I got something this time. I know what I'm going to do this time, right? I said, because when you take the test that it'll show you the right answer when you get it wrong, right? I took my phone. Let's just say this is my phone, right? Took my phone. This is another phone that I had that records. I took the phone and I just placed it right here so they wouldn't see it as I'm taking the test, but it's recording, and it's recording the answers. And I get it wrong, then what happens is I can then go back and look on here, and I can see what the right answers was. Failed it again, as I knew I would, because I kept failing. This is like the 8th time, right? I go outside, you guys, and I'm like, I got something now. This time I'm gonna pass it because I got the answers. Do you know I looked at the phone that was recorded, and everything on the screen was just lines all around. The whole screen was just lines. and I couldn't see anything. Like, I was so confused about that. Like, what is going on? Like, what? I can't even see you see what I'm saying? Like, so I just keep on failing. Then when I tried to cheat, that didn't work, right? I end up giving up anyway. But what that was, child of God, I didn't really know God like that. I didn't know nothing about purpose, and I didn't really know nothing about destiny and assignments. I didn't know nothing like that. I'm kind of a new Christian. You're still trying to find my way. You thought I wanted to do that job. That was my own desire, but my desire was not his desire. Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me? Right? So sometimes your plans, they won't work if it's not the plan of God, right? Sometimes even God will allow the enemy, right, to do whatever he's doing because he knows that that thing is what you need to go through, right, in order to get you to where it is that God needs you to be. So sometimes the enemy will attack you in a certain area, or he'll attack you in a certain way. But what that thing would do, sometimes that thing would get you in line, right? It's not always the enemy attacking you and causing this thing not to work in your life, right? A lot of times, you guys, it is God. Your odd situation is not always natural. Oh, yes, it is sometimes spiritual. And again, you got to bring those things before the Lord, right? So as I begin to grow in God a little bit, he began to show me that that was me. That was not my will for your life, right? That wasn't my will for your life, right? Yep, his will for my life is different than mine. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of like no matter what I try to do, it wasn't going to work, right? Now I got to walk by faith, and I have to seek God in everything that I want to do. I need to make sure that this is his will. So if something is not working that I'm trying to do, then I got to bring this before him. Like, is this not your will? Because if it's not your will, then is that why it's not working? Or is the enemy attacking it, right? Because if the enemy is attacking something in your life, child of God, then you have to begin to bind and rebuke that spirit and command that spirit to leave your life, right? Sometimes, again, we look at our situations and we think that it's a natural thing, but it's not always a natural thing. Sometimes it is a spiritual thing, right? Sometimes we may wonder, man, I don't got no energy. I don't have no strength. I don't understand. You're just so lazy and I just don't feel good. And so that's not a normal thing. That's something that's odd, right? That's something that's strange. That's an odd situation. Whatever that issue is, you got to bring that thing before the Lord, child of God. You got to bring that thing before the Lord, and God will reveal to you what your problem is. Whatever that thing is, maybe it's a spirit of laziness that's attacking you. Maybe somebody's sending witchcraft attacks at you. You just don't know. That's why we got to bring things before God. We got to bring things before God, because the only way some situations in our lives would change is we need God to step in. We need them things to change through prayer, right? You can't just do it on your own. Once God revealed to you what the spirit is or what's attack, then you fight or war against the spirit of witchcraft, or you to rebuke and bind the spirit of laziness that's attacking your life. And sometimes, you guys, we suffer with a spirit of procrastination. Sometimes we say, oh, I'm going to do something. I'm going to do this then. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Oh, I'm going to clean my house this day. Then a week later, I'm tired a little bit. I'm going to do it next week. Next week come, I'm going to do it next week. Next week come. And every time you procrastinate, your house is getting more full and more full with clothes, and you bringing in stuff from different places, and you just piling up. But you keep saying you're going to clean up. Next thing, you got a land full of clothes in your house all over. But it's like that because of procrastination. So sometimes those odd situations in your life are not always natural, but they are spiritual. Maybe you got to bind and rebuke that spirit of procrastination and command that thing to leave your life, right? It's not always natural, child of God. You have to look over your life, and what are those odd situations in your life, right? What are those odd situations in your life that just seems not to be working? Sometimes you could be working, and every time you working, something breaks. You don't even get to enjoy your money. So it's kind of like, what is that spirit? And if it keeps happening, you're not able to save up no money. You're not able to buy anything for yourself. All your money go to bills. It's something there that's a problem, right? You got to seek God, right? You got to seek God. And when you seek God about it, once he reveals to you what the issue is, then that situation, you have to begin to war against that spirit, right? But many times, you guys, we know what our problem is, right? We know what our problem is. And many times we want God to just deliver us without us having to put in any work or without us having to do anything. We want God to just deliver us from that. And it's not going to work like that. It's not going to work like that. Sometimes we may wonder, I cannot overcome masturbation, or you cannot overcome smoking, or what is it that's causing you to do that thing? Because this is where you have to do your work at, right? If you truly are sick and tired of doing what it is that thing that you're doing and you can't seem to stop. See, that's a spiritual issue. That's not a natural thing. When you want to do something and you keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it and you don't want to do it, that's not a natural situation. That's odd. That's strange. That's a spiritual situation, right? When you want to be free from something, right, you got to show God that you're serious. So what is it that you're willing to do in order to be free from whatever that thing is? What are you willing to do, right? If you, let's just say you are struggling with masturbation, right? And let's say you're struggling with masturbation. And so that thing, you keep doing it and you don't want to do it, right? What steps are you willing to take, right, to show God that you are serious and that you are sick and tired of doing this thing? Because whatever step you take, that shows God, okay, that you're serious. Because you could say I'm tired and you could cry out and this and that, and but what are your actions, right? What are your actions? What is it that you're doing to show God that you're serious and that you want to be free, right? And this is what I'm saying. Sometimes we know what our problem is, but even though it's an odd situation, and even though it's not natural, even though it's spiritual, stuff like that, you need God to get involved so that he can help you through those things. But again, you guys, the Bible say to resist the devil, right? And he'll flee from you, right? What is resist? Resist means I want to do it, but I'm not going to do it. Though I want to do it, bad, I want to do this, bad, I want to do this, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to resist those temptations that he puts in my mind to do certain things. I'm going to resist it. Whenever I feel that urge to do something, I'm going to get up and go take a walk, right? I'm going to start praying. Matter of fact, you need to pray before that thing comes in your mind, because many times once that thing comes in your mind, child of God, it's almost certain that you're going to end up doing it once it comes in your mind. Because what happens is now the devil has planted that thought in your mind because he knows your weakness. So he's going to end up doing that very thing. What do you have to do, child of God? What is it that you have to do? Do you have to, if you watch porn on your phone, do you have to stop and maybe get a flip phone? That's showing God that I'm serious. I'm just saying that's showing God that I'm serious, right? Do I have to cut my internet service? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, what is your part? What is your part? Because God will help you, but you have to show him, child of God, that you are serious, that you are serious. And you will have to begin to bind and rebuke that spirit of masturbation, but it's not going to go anywhere if you're still indulging in it. Are you hearing me? Right? So it's like if you want to go to warfare against a certain spirit, but you're still indulging in that thing, that's dangerous. That's dangerous. That's dangerous now. You fighting the very spirit that you are habitually doing willingly. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of like you got to change something in your life, child of God, so that you can overcome whatever that thing is that's keeping you from living a life that is pleasing to God, or keeping you from living a holy life, or a life that God is going to look at you and just be pleased with it, right? What do you do? This is what I'm saying. This is a spiritual issue. What do? You got to figure out a way. You got to figure out a way to keep yourself from doing that thing, right? If you got to pray more, do that. It just shows God that you're serious, child of God. Again, right? These odd circumstances, these odd situations in our lives, they are not always natural, but sometimes they are spiritual. You got to begin to bind and rebuke that spirit of alcoholism, that spirit of addiction, whatever that thing is. That's what I'm saying. Many times we know what our problem is, but we like to protect the devil sometimes. We like to protect those demons, right? And when you enjoy what you're doing and you praying to God to set you free, but you're not trying, you see what I'm saying? You're not resisting. Resist that devil. Man, I want to do this, but I'm going to refrain from it. I'm not going to do it. That shows God that you're serious, right? It show God when you can increase your prayer life because you want to be free from certain things, right? But if you continue to go out doing everything else in the world and then you begin to fall because you have not prayed, that's not showing God that you're serious. Though you can cry out to him, and what is your action to that thing? What is it that you're doing, right? To show God that you're serious. And after a while, child of God, if you begin to do that thing that you're showing God that you're serious about, that you're going to change that lifestyle or change that way of behaving, that's when God will set you free. That's when God will set you free. That's when God will deliver you, right? That's when God will get rid of that devil from you and he'll begin to allow you to move forward in your life, right? But you guys, sometimes, again, look at the things in your life and just go over your life. And what are those different things in your life that are seeming like different? Like those things are strange occurrences, like those odd situations in your life. It's not always a natural thing. Sometimes it is a spiritual thing. So again, look over your life. What is that thing that you continue to not be able to do, right? Though you're trying. But then once you figure out what that thing is, then you got to bring that before the Lord, right? You got to bring that before the Lord. Are you always getting into car accidents, right? Always getting into car accidents. Are you always in and out the hospital? Always in and out the hospital. Are you always overeating? Always overeating. Are you always thinking of sexual things? Are you always having lust on your mind? And sometimes you could be talking to people and you could be thinking lustful thoughts, but you're always thinking that. You see what I'm saying? Those odd circumstances, those odd situations are not always natural, but they are spiritual. You see what I'm saying? Those things are sometimes spiritual, child of God. And in order to fight a spiritual problem, you have to first identify what the problem is. And then once you identify the problem, then you can war against that issue or that problem. Again, like I'm talking about procrastination, I'm talking about laziness. You know, those things, child of God, are spirits that are attacking us, right? Those are spirits that are attacking us, but you have to seek God about what that spirit is. Or is it God that's stopping something from happening? Or is it the enemy? Again, like I said, you could be binding and rebuking Satan, but it's God that doesn't want you to get that job or something. You know what I'm saying? So that's why we got to follow the leading of the Spirit of God, and we got to check with God. We can't just be doing things. You see what I'm saying? So we continue to just do things without checking with God. That's a lot of times what keep us in bondage as well. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, I just gave that example, you guys, because if I had been driving all over the country, because that was my whole plan, you just drive all over the country. You know, ain't got no family like that. I ain't got no kids. You know, I'm able to just go and do what I want to do. That was my plan, but that wasn't the plan of God for my life. You see what I'm saying? Because if I had been doing that, I wouldn't be doing this. Are you hearing me? I wouldn't be doing this. So this is what I'm saying. The plan of God is different from my plan. And that's why we got to seek God. And you guys, when that was happening, I didn't know nothing about spiritual things like that. I was a brand new Christian. So I was still trying to find my way. I didn't run across any messages like this. I didn't run across anything like this that I would be able to compare my life and just to look over my life and see what my problem. I didn't have that. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, child of God, just know that those odd occurrences, right? Those odd situations in your life, that they are not always natural, but sometimes they are spiritual. But again, you got to bring that thing before the Lord and see what the issue is and why it's not working for you. All right, child of God, be encouraged. You got this. Again, bring it all to the Lord in prayer. You can never go wrong when you do that. All right, be blessed.